Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. If I sound sick, it's because I am. But we gotta get this out. So we're gonna do the schedule release tomorrow, as they only released Week 1's games. So we'll have the entire schedule tomorrow. What we're gonna do today is talk about Aaron Rodgers and why he's not signed. It's kind of simple actually, but it's puzzling because it's just you're looking at this thing, it's after the draft. It's May 14th. The draft was weeks ago, a few weeks ago, and you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers not signed yet. And you say, okay, was that a pre-draft move, a post-draft move in signing him? Why are teams waiting? Well, you look at it, there's a couple reasons. The first reason being when Aaron talked about it, he tried to make it sound like he was reasonable. He went on the Pat McAfee show a couple weeks ago and he said, teams were offering me this and I want this. And his offer was he wanted 10 million, but he made it sound like the teams thought he wanted 25, which doesn't make sense because we saw how Aaron Rodgers played last year. No team is offering him 25. Nobody. It's not happening. If he was only asking for 10, that would say to the team, let's just sign him. He wants 10? All right, we were thinking 15, 20. No, he wants more than 10. He wants probably at least a good amount. I'm thinking he thinks he can get 25. I think he switched those because he wants to sound like he's reasonable. But when he was asked on the Pat McAfee show, would a quarterback necessarily deter him from going to that team if a quarterback was drafted by that team? And he said no. Well, it obviously deterred teams because they went and got them. They got quarterbacks. Like you could say Cleveland would have been a spot, but then they drafted two quarterbacks. You could say the Giants could have been a spot, but they signed two quarterbacks, they draft a third. They're not going there. And then you go and say Seattle, no. They got Sam Darnold, and they drafted Jalen Milroe. So there's only a couple spots where he could actually go, which, in my opinion, Pittsburgh, because Mason Rudolph. Let's be serious here. Mason Rudolph ain't doing anything. Or New Orleans. That's it. And that's only because we didn't know that was going to happen until Derek Carr retired this past weekend. And we didn't get into it in yesterday's video, but that's the best spot for him would be New Orleans. But if you were going in order, it would go New Orleans, Pittsburgh. He keeps trying to say, well, Minnesota, maybe. No. There was the slightest chance before the draft that he'd go to Minnesota. Then they traded for Sam Howell. That ended that. So there was only so many. The thing that makes it harder was when I would use Tom Brady as an example. Tom Brady was 43, or going to be 43 when he was a free agent. He signed in March. Excuse me. He signed in March. Rodgers is still available in May. There's a reason for that. Tom Brady, his final year, even though New England was terrible, he was still pretty good. Just the team was so bad. Aaron in New York was bad. He wasn't good. So that no one's rushing to the bat rack, as a baseball reference has said, that no one's going to understand. There's not a fight at the bat rack to go and sign Aaron Rodgers. There just isn't. And then you have the other part of it, which is when Tom was going somewhere and he had left New England and he was going to go sign somewhere else, there was not as many starting quarterbacks at that time. There was options. And there isn't options now because you waited so long and because you said, I'm going to take some time. That's what happened. You said, I'm going to take some time to myself and go from there. That's what you said. And I don't see anyone willing to say, I'm going to take time. No, I think that was an automatic turn off for most teams. It would have been a turn off for me anyway, if I was a GM or an owner of a team. So there's that part. Then there's a part of he might divvy up a locker room with his personality, because it's not like he could be a backup quarterback. He's a starter or he's not playing. That's what's happening. He's not going to be on this team. That's how this works. And if you recall, we said this about Cam Newton. We said Cam Newton has to be a starter. He can't be a backup. His personality will divide the locker room. That's what will happen. And it did. It did divide the locker room. So you have that issue with Aaron Rodgers. You have the other issues of, is he still any good? Because he's still, like, the last game, yes, they won against Miami, but Miami was not good. And Miami's not good in the cold for whatever reason. But they aren't that good. Their offense this year was not good. He couldn't move. Go back and watch 2015 Peyton Manning highlights. Not at the end of the year, but in the beginning. And then pick it up in when he jumps back in week 17 after coming off the bench. And then watch that playoff run. And you go and say, oh my gosh, that's painful to watch. That's very, very painful. That was Aaron Rodgers. It was painful. Because it wasn't just bad play by Rodgers. He was getting hurt. Every week was a new injury. With Peyton, it was the heel and then his jaw, and then there was this and there was that. With Rodgers, it started out as the Achilles. That was the first thing that everyone was concerned about. Then it was he had an ankle issue. He had a problem in his hand. So they had that issue. So they had, if you don't count the Achilles, that's 2. He had an MCL sprain in his knee, so that's 3. We suspect something wrong in his shoulder. That's what was rumored around. So that's potentially 4 injuries after the Achilles. No one is looking at Aaron Rodgers and saying, yeah, he's a healthy guy and injuries won't slow him down. He'll be fine. We saw how bad he was. The offense didn't work. In the beginning, it was blame Nathaniel Hackett. It became blame the entire Jets offense. Before blaming Nathaniel Hackett, though, it was blame Robert Saleh. I'm old enough. I'm old enough to know. I wasn't born yesterday. I know when they played Denver in the rain, that was bad. Because that defense was flying around, making plays, causing turnovers, and their offense couldn't do anything. It was like they weren't even prepared for the rain. That was how bad it was. That's an Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett issue, not a Robert Saleh issue. They blamed Robert Saleh. They fired Robert Saleh. And then you proceed to change the play caller anyway, and it still was bad. It was still really bad. There's a problem there. There was an actual problem. and everyone was aware of it. The fans were aware, the players were aware. It wasn't good. And it was week after week after week. And we're just having to sit there and listen to Aaron Rodgers say, it's not that bad. It is. Well, we can rattle off 6 games. No, you can't. You're not beating Buffalo. Not happening. You're not winning 6 divisional games. You beat New England. Okay. New England's not that great. You beat New England the first time, and then you lost the second time. You beat Miami the second time because they're not good in the cold. But you lost to them the first time, and then you got demolished by the Bills. That's not good. Don't say that's good. That was bad. They were bad. And Aaron was bad. So there's that part of it. And then there's this part of he's trying, like, like we said, divvy up the locker room. That's what he'll end up doing. The reason I have New Orleans over, let me give you the real reason that I have New Orleans over Pittsburgh. The team offensively is better. And yes, he would have to merge his offense to Kellen Moore's offense, which is what Tom Brady did when he went to Tampa Bay with Bruce Arians. It took him like 12 weeks to figure it out, but they figured it out. Like, he would have to do that. And Kellen Moore does that with pretty much any quarterback, so it's fine. But you look, Olave, Shaheed, Kamara, the offensive line, shaky. I do agree with that. The defense, it's a kind of up and down situation, but it's not awful. So you can take that. You're okay with it. But then you go and say, well, what about Pittsburgh? He could bring his offense. I think Arthur Smith would just fall at the altar of Aaron Rodgers and say, yeah, we'll use your offense, which doesn't work because our offensive line is bad. Our run game is not good. Our wide receiver core, we just traded away George Pickens. We have Metcalf, but we don't have another option at wide receiver. And I'm concerned about this defense at times because it doesn't look great, I guess, would be the best word I could use without destroying the censor on YouTube right now. But it's not good. It's really bad. You could bring your offense and you could probably bring in the players you had, like an Alan Lazard. You could do that. But you wouldn't be able to do that in New Orleans. At least as much. Because New Orleans has a better built offense. And in my opinion, a better coach in terms of the offensive coordinator. I don't think Kellen Moore is better than Mike Tomlin. I think Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, is better than Arthur Smith. And I just believe that. It's that simple, really it is. So, divvying up the locker room, trying to force his way to Minnesota, even though it won't happen. Forcing himself to be a starter and bringing in players that played with him, bringing his offense with him, and then the off the field stuff that he may not show up for OTAs. He may not show up for minicamp. Those are all things that it doesn't explains why teams are waiting for. Just gonna wait him out and see what he wants to do because I think Pittsburgh is pretty much over a bail. What's happening in Cincinnati, what's happening in Baltimore, and New Orleans, their quarterback retired. So those are 2 spots for him. But it's going to be a complete disaster if he can't play like Aaron Rodgers and turn back the clock to like when he was 35. If he can't do that, it's not going to happen. Well, let me know in the comment section, where does Aaron Rodgers go? Does he go to New Orleans? Does he go to the Steelers? Does he go somewhere else? Does he force his way to Minnesota? Is it not even on the bingo card of where he's going to go? Or does he just outright retire? Let me know in the comment section. While you're there, like, subscribe. It's absolutely free and it helps the channel out a ton. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hubert. Out.